Hey guys, you've joined us live at Moneycontrol. I'm Manisha Gupta, and in focus is the metal prices today because Friday was a great day. And when you look at the overall 2023, well, barring one metal, which is copper, most of the other metals, while it is nickel, zinc, aluminum, are headed for a second annual decline. But what is the picture that 2024 can show us? For those details, we are now joined by Nishant Kumar of NK Charts. Nishant, hi, good to have you. What is your sense, first of all, on copper? Because we're trading at a 4.5-month highs right now. There are supply concerns as we get into the new year. And every big company, whether it's Anglo-American, Vale or Rio Tinto, have given a guidance of output cut in 2024, while the demand actually could be increasing, whether it's from EVs or transitioning into green energy. How would you, to begin with, look at copper prices? Nishant, how would you look at the copper prices going forward?
Tunnels that...
Nishant, can you hear me? Well, that looks like a weak connection. We'll, of course, try and get him back. But as I was telling you, it's a great year for copper here. We're looking at 4.5-month highs, and we've seen a gain of nearly 2% in this year until now. Of course, from the kind of lows that we saw from the month of October itself, it has been nearly 8% of gains coming in for copper there. Nishant, how would you look at copper prices from here on? Nishant, how would you look at copper?
Yeah, I can.
So how would you look at copper prices? Nishant, how would you look at the copper prices from here? All right, that does look like a weak connection there, but just to give you a sense, it's not just about copper, but we also have seen strong gains come in for aluminum, where we are trading at around multi-week highs. And Alumina, of course, hit an all-time highs on Friday, where we did see the prices trade on the much higher side. This comes in on the back of a blast in Guinea, which has led to a bauxite production come in slightly lower. Let me remind you that Guinea is the third largest producer of bauxite, which is an input into aluminum, and that did lead to very strong gains coming in for a few of those metals. Well, going forward, it is going to be about rate cuts from the US Fed, the dollar index, which is trading slightly on the weaker side. That could be the theory going forward or theme in 2024. The Chinese stimulus and demand going forward also is expected to be quite stronger. And then the street is also looking at the energy transition demand that is expected to support a lot of metals there. So the expectation is that you could be looking at, on a conservative basis, a 10 to 15% of a rise in metal prices going forward. The top favorites, of course, still continue to be copper, aluminum, even zinc and iron ore. Those are four of the metals to keep an eye on as we get into the new year. Nishant, how would you look at the metal prices from here, especially copper?
Hello?
Yes, Nishant.
Hello?
Nishant, how would you look at the copper prices going forward from here?
Yeah, hi Manisha. Sorry, I'm having some audio problems. So, 733 is we are doing currently on the MCX.
Yeah.
And, in the dollar terms, it's around 3.9 to 4. So that's the supply area. So once we clear that, we should be able to advance towards 4.25 fairly quickly. So I'm pretty bullish on copper at the moment.
Nishant, also, how would you look at aluminum? Because we've seen bauxite and alumina concerns support aluminum prices.
Aluminum is trying to find a support. So, we are still, trying to establish a bottom there. It's kind of seeing some consolidation there. So, on the M6 around 207. So, for a, quick trade on the long side, it can do 227. But aluminum is looking good now. A bottom established around 195. So this can do well. I mean, aluminum, mostly the bottom is done. But yes, still slightly weak as compared to copper. And, nickel being the weakest of them all. Zinc also relatively okay. I mean, somewhat similar to aluminum, but, nickel is the weakest of them all, and with copper being the strongest.
All right. Also, when you look at the ferrous metals, steel seems to be doing okay, especially in the Indian markets, and the iron ore prices are up quite strongly too. So between the two of these, where are you bending on?
So, Manisha, if you see, the iron ore prices have gone up pretty, significantly. So that will be reflecting on the steel prices because they'll have to be passed on to the consumer. So, since the iron ore prices are going up, steel kind of still consolidating. I would like to see some more strength in steel. Current trading around 43,500, 600. But that is the bottom that the steel manufacturers can afford. So, since the iron ore prices continue to strengthen, I believe steel has hit its bottom and should be looking up from there.
So, as you've said, Nishant, that your top favorite within metals is copper and then perhaps comes aluminum. Would you give the third place to iron ore then?
I would go with zinc, in the industrial metal pack.
Okay.
So copper, aluminium and zinc, and, nickel being the weakest and, steel still kind of, trying to catch up. But yeah, the iron ore is done well. So, I would go with copper, aluminium, zinc.
All right. Also, Nishant, the way the 2023 has panned out, it was very volatile. Markets kept waiting for the Chinese demand to come back. Not that it's bad or weak in any sense, but with the way the street anticipated the economic data to come in, it wasn't exactly that. But when you look at the numbers itself in sense of imports or the usage of metal within China has been quite sufficient in that sense. What would you want to watch out for 2024 now? Where do you think could be a wildcard entry from?
So, Manisha, if I see the Chinese index as well, if you see, the Shanghai index, seems to be bottoming out. So, I believe China has hit its bottom as far as the economic, conditions are concerned. So, the chart suggests that China should be, turning around from here. So, and as we all know, the government is trying their best to add on to the stimulus and, trying to prop up the economy. So I believe China will be a major contributor looking at the turning of the economy. India definitely seems to be, adding on to the steel demand because the government has, spending a lot of money on the capex. And if we see, this is the general commodity cycle that we look at. The capex has been, a lot of new capex has been coming online. So there will be a lot of domestic demand with China, trying to turn towards the, the first half of the next year. So I believe China would be a major contributor in the metal demand in 2024.
All right. And since you look at a lot of metals as an underground and you look at a lot of metal stocks as well. So if you're looking at copper, aluminum, zinc in that order, then what are the relative stocks that you're watching on the other side?
So, Manisha, I'm, quite bullish on copper. I have been most part of this year. We have this electric vehicle and the energy transition forming into the new, energy era. So copper demand would remain, and then we have a few mines that have been facing, labor unrest. So copper seems to be kind of, in demand, not just from the, customer, and there are supply side constraints also developing on the copper. So copper, seems to be in it's a double, benefit for copper. And so that seems to be, that's reflecting in the copper stocks as well throughout the world and in India as well. And on the other side, since, steel demand would be good, so I believe zinc should do well from here on. Aluminium, I'm still waiting because there's some consolidation happening there. So with the rising steel prices should, have a good impact on the zinc prices. Iron ore anyway is doing well. So, but out of the lot, copper seems to be the one that I would be really bullish on going into the next year.
So conservatively, even if you look at the international markets, what is your sense on how high can copper prices go from the current levels, which is of $8,600 a ton? Are you looking at a 10%, 12%, 15% rise for the next year?
Yeah, so Manisha, like I mentioned, 3.9 to 4 is a supply area. Once that is crossed, 4.25 shouldn't take a lot of time, but I'm expecting around, 10 to 15% rise in the copper price. So somewhere around $4.5 to $4.6 should be doable in the next year. If you believe me, I would be looking for retesting the current highs, but to be on the conservative side, 4.5, 4.6 is doable next year.
All right, so a very, very bullish view coming in for copper prices there. Nishant, thank you so much for joining in. I know you're traveling, but thank you for joining in and giving your sense on where the metal prices could be. So copper, aluminum, zinc, steel in that order there, but copper very, very bullish is the view coming in for 2024 as of now.